Good morning. I'm with Tara Christie, CEO of Banyan Gold, BYN on the TSX Venture. And Banyan has been busy, so we're going to get an update from Tara. How are you, Tara?
I'm great. I'm calling you from New York.
Yeah, the Big Apple. I've never spoken to you from the Big Apple before. So what calls you to New York?
Well, I'm going to a conference tomorrow, the Hidden Gems Conference, and then I'm meeting up with some of my shareholders who've been longtime supporters, and nice to come back and tell them what I'm doing and what Banyan's going to do for them.
Very good. I've been hearing a lot more about U.S. investors getting involved in the gold mining sector. So I guess this is further confirmation of that, considering that you're flying all the way from Vancouver to New York to attend a conference and meet with investors.
Well, you also see it in our the volumes on our OTCQB listing. We have very significant volumes of stock, so trading both on the Canadian and the U.S. market. So I think we are seeing more people involved, and I'm having more cold calls or people that haven't invested in the mining space and who aren't regular investors who call and want to understand Banyan and the broader mining space. So I find myself, talking a lot more about gold generally and investing in juniors and, some of those checklists of what you should go through if you're investing.
Very good. Yeah, I think a lot of generalist investors, those who are not as experienced in mining, need a lot of help with that. And you're definitely a good person to ask for some advice, regarding that. So the Banyan chart, BYN, you guys had an incredible summer. The stock had an incredible move from June through September. It's been consolidating for the last month or so, but it's a beautiful high and tight consolidation. I really like the chart. And it makes sense that you just close the financing, because that's usually kind of how these things go. A stock re-rates, gets up to a new valuation level, and then company will raise some capital to fund it for the next year or so. And then once the financing closes, maybe the next leg higher starts. So maybe we're about to see that with Banyan. Tell us about this financing, Tara, and how it came together.
Well, I first met Alex Gubbins in 2021, and he didn't invest for quite a few years. He saw the growth in our company, and his mom and himself had small investments in 2025. And really this, I think after he did a site visit this year, we talked at Beaver Creek, and then after that, had some further discussions and decided to do this financing with Alpayana, the family mining company, a Peruvian mining company. He has a lot of faith in the people, the project, the geology, and I think that's validation. He put his money where his mouth is and said, "Here, go advance that project. Your share price should be much higher. You should be working and have more drills turning and have a very clear view of what you need to do." And that's what this financing does. We can now put our head down and work. We know what we're doing for 2026. We know how many drills we want to have. We can continue to refine the plan over the next few weeks before we put it out to the public. And we'll also start to see some of our drill results for this year. And having that really means that we can focus on adding shareholder value and drilling off the right areas. So I'm pretty excited about what it means, and certainly appreciate that support. They're now an 8.6% shareholder, which isn't a control position. There's no board seat associated with it, no financing rights. So for us, they're just a very solid investor that wanted to see us move this project forward.
So this is the first investment that the family has made in Banyan?
The first of the company, yes.
Oh, the family business company. Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay, so 31.4 million total. That's got to pad your treasury really nicely. I don't know how much you have now, but I'm sure it's over 40 million.
How much? 40 million. I took a photograph of the bank account to remind myself.
So how much runway does that give Banyan?
Well, it depends how fast you go. It does take us for G&A all the way through 2027, because we now have almost 12 million in hard dollars, which is very significant to us. in terms of our drill program next year, we haven't refined it yet, but you can expect to see at least 50,000 meters of drilling, plus advance to that PEA, which we've promised. And we're just running all the numbers and seeing what we get for results before we commit to more than that in our detailed plans. But certainly it removes that financing overhang, which I think we've had. Last year we had the overhang of what happened with our neighbors, the fact we only had 75% of our property, and there was uncertainty about earning the last 25, and they had 8.6% of our stock. We now know that Victoria Gold has 0% of our stock. We've been formally notified of that. And we also have 100% of our property in clear title given to us by the court. Both of those things re-rated. And yeah, you see in our stock price the impact it had. But I think we still haven't re-rated to the gold price. We've caught up because of that extra negative that we had from last year and that black swan event. I think we still have a long way to go to re-rate to where the gold price is, and look where gold price is today.
What a transformation in the last year, Tara. I mean, I'm in awe of how far the company has come in 1 year. It's been a fantastic turnaround, and I believe you guys are soaring to higher heights in the coming months and years. It's great to see the treasury like that. So it gives you guys so much room to work with, and you can advance faster if you like, as you said. So let's talk about the drilling. So one thing that I've really appreciated in 2025 is you had a new VPX come on board. He did some 3D modeling magic quite clearly, and there's a step change in the results. So you're hitting higher grades on a regular basis. Can you tell us about that?
Well, that's twofold. Our new VPX, our new geological model in our resource added a lot of credibility, and people were waiting for that. A lot of very sophisticated geologists and investors didn't like our previous model. We were super pleased with the results to get the 2 million ounces of indicated and almost 100% conversion rate, which doesn't often happen. But our new VPX also now, with this model, we can predict these high-grade zones, and it's proving out, and we're seeing them hit them again and again and again. And they're both in power line and airstrip. Power line, we have that gram and a half, and even higher we're seeing, and we can project those east-west, as well as airstrip, where we've got some that even higher grade multi-grams, 11 grams, 9 grams, even up to 500 grams in one intercept. So yes, that's the new narrative we're trying to tell people is, look a little deeper at Banyan. Yes, there aren't very many large projects over 7 million ounces and big bulk tonnage, but within this deposit, you can clearly see there's a core of higher grade that hangs together in these zones that we can project. And I think our drill program this year is going to show people that we can deliver on that.
So you put out a news release during Beaver Creek Week that said, hey guys, we've got visible gold in sheeted veins too. And we've got high grades too. You have a couple of intercepts with 3 grams, 6 grams per ton gold. It's impressive. It's really impressive to see it come together like that, and to see the results get better and better over time. So that's one of the hallmarks of like a great ore body is the more you drill it, the more you work it, the more joy it gives you. And that's what we're seeing at AurMac. So what's next for the company? Obviously, you've been drilling a lot, so we're going to get a lot of results. Tell us about that. And then when do we maybe get an updated resource, show that this is 10 million ounces and not 7.7 million ounces, or a PEA even?
Well, remember our last resource was at 2050 gold price. The average consensus being used now is probably 24, and it's probably going higher every day. So we had committed as part of our earn-in, if you recall, we had to do a PEA by December of 2025. And that doesn't make sense when we've now had our best targeted drill program in 2025, because that would only include the 2024 drilling. But the real benefit is that because we weren't going to miss that target, we did a tremendous amount of work towards our PEA. So not only is our new geological model guiding us, but we understand the mining sequence and pits, so we know how to actually make it better with our drill program this year. So, we keep adapting our drill program, not only on the results that we found, but then also going back to that pre-PEA work that we did, showing where the starter pits are, where we can actually meaningfully convert waste, where we can drop the pit floor, where you ended in high grade, to really focus on that economics, so we can put out a PEA in 2026, which we think, a lot of it'll be to PFS level, because we've done a lot of that work, like the trade-off studies for power, the network, etc. We've advanced this very significantly, quietly through this last year, which puts us in a pretty unique position. So, you're going to expect to see this resource grow and grow in the high grade zones of the property. And also, once we actually put out some economics, we want them to be really compelling. And I think that we're well on track for that.
So yeah, let me explore that a little further with you. So PEA, maiden PEA in 2026, I just heard you say. Now, if I look into the market valuation right now, it's about 280, 290 in Canada. And usually PEA stage companies will get 0.2 to 0.3 times NAV at the time they put out their PEA. So that would mean that the market is basically thinking that your NPV is about $1 billion at this stage. You think the market's too conservative?
I do. Yeah, that's my job, to prove that the market's too conservative. And I think we're going to have the results to do that.
Okay. So we're shooting for bigger than $1 billion then, Tara. Is that right? All right. It's just,
you gotta be optimistic. This is lots of forward-looking statements. I think it's a pretty interesting time for us. Look at how many projects of our scale are there that already have hydropower and roads on the property. We've been through some pretty tough times, so you gotta aim your sights high. And really, what is the value of a gold deposit like this? That's the key question in this gold environment, with two potential acquirers beside us. Like we're in the center of an M&A district. That adds value too. And we're not isolated. We've got existing roads, existing hydropower. I wouldn't underestimate the value that should add in terms of comparing us to other projects.
So we're in this $4,000 gold price environment suddenly. We haven't been here long, but we're here now. I don't know where the gold price is going in the future, but it seems quite reasonable that for a PEA, companies should start using a $3,000 gold price. What are your thoughts on that? And with the gold price being so volatile and such a moving target, what do you do when you put the economics, around, the project? Do you show 5 different gold prices and say, well, here's our base case, and we're going to be pretty low with our base case, probably like 2,700 or 3,000?
Well, we got a little bit of time before we have to decide that number, but those are exactly the debates that all gold mining companies, I think, are having, that are trying to put some economics around their project. What is reasonable? Is it a 3-year trailing average that's reasonable? How quick? When you look at even our resource, we used 2050, and at the time that was conservative, but in the ballpark. But now it's 2,400, so it's moving very, very quickly. So, I think it would be premature for me to tell you what I'm going to use for a gold price in 2026. And yeah, we could even go back and rerun our resource, and it would change our resource to use a different gold price now. So I think it's going to be challenging for investors because of that aren't, don't understand how these models work. The mining companies, though, the big miners that are looking for ounces, probably will be strategic about that. That's an opportunity, because projects will be undervalued because of the gold price assumptions that have been used on whenever their study is put out. And that's something that investors and mining companies have to think about. What gold price was used? How conservative is this? If something that's less than 6 months old is already pretty out of date from a gold price perspective, that means you're in a pretty volatile market. So it's a conversation for us to continue to have. I'm not going to decide it, and you probably won't till the last minute, because you could be out of date pretty quickly. It's been interesting. You talk to different shareholders, some people who feel that, we've reached a top in gold, other people that think it's going higher, some people that think we'll have a kind of a pullback. You hear all those different opinions when you're talking to people about, when I'm talking about our project. And between all of that, as a CEO, you got to kind of say, okay, I'm taking a conservative path through this. I'm trying to make the best decisions for the company, and the credibility of the company too. So sometimes you'll be conservative because it shows more credibility, and you'll see some companies that are very aggressive.
Yeah, gold is very hard to predict, especially after Friday's trading session looked like we were at a local peak. And now today we're roaring right back above 4,300. It's very hard to predict. And I've never seen volatility like this in gold. Have you, Tara?
No, I've seen it. Well, I saw it on the downside back when we went to 300. That was pretty dramatic.
2013. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
So yes, but that also means I've lived through some cycles, ups and downs, and you've got to be cautious. But it's amazing for the gold producers. Like, wow, to be able to realize $4,200 or $4,300 gold. Imagine what that's doing for margins.
Oh man. And speaking of which, so we're going to get earnings from Newmont Thursday afternoon. That's going to be really interesting to see their financials. I can only imagine probably $2 billion of free cash flow in
Wow.
Q3. So, you said you're in a gold belt that's ripe for M&A, the Tombstone gold belt. Basically one of the best, emerging gold belts in the entire world right now. Snowline is obviously way up there with like a $2 billion market cap. They're obviously a major takeout target. I got to ask you, how do you see the M&A potentially playing out there in the Tombstone gold belt? Does it start with Snowline, or does it start somewhere else? With a major coming in and staking the territory?
Well, I think major catalyst is the mine for sale right beside us. With the Eagle mine for sale, there's a timeline. Somebody's going to maybe own that. The receiver's timeline up to a couple days ago said by December 31st. Now it says TBD. So that's probably still early 2026, because the government's made it quite clear that they want that in hands of a miner and back into production. So when that's a forced M&A that's going to happen. If it's a major company, are they going to want to be a 200,000 ounce producer? Probably not. If it's a mid-tier, maybe they are, and that's opportunity for us, because there'll be all the people that are participating in that didn't win, just like there's all the groups that didn't win Hemlo or Coffee, who are now looking for gold assets, and maybe some weren't even looking for gold assets because the price of gold wasn't there. Their cash flow wasn't there to be able to reasonably compete. But I think we're going to see a lot of competitors out of that. And for Banyan, whether it's a big company or a mid-tier, there's a win in there. And we also have Hecla beside us, so they're going to be looking for their own growth strategy. Originally when they moved in, that was a thought. So yes, there's probably people looking at Snowline. I think that's not a secret. And I think it is a fabulous tier 1 asset. I think the whole Yukon, because of these great new discoveries, people are starting to take another look. We have the advantage of having existing roads, existing power line on the property, cell phone, and beside 2 mines with permits, which I think is a catalyst that's unique to our property, even though we're in the same geological belt as a few other great companies and projects, which I hope all become. This would be a great jurisdiction for a big company to make an investment in one or more projects, because you could have some district consolidation, and then you'd have one company that really has the whole jurisdiction. We could see multiple companies as well, but that's also a potential thesis for the M&A for the Yukon.
Yeah, this could be really fascinating to see how that plays out. It does make sense that it's a mid-tier that comes in as your neighbor, as you said, in early 2026. But we'll see. We could get a surprise there with a senior acquiring multiple assets to really generate scale there. I love drill results. I love new discoveries. So what can you tell us about the drilling that you did in 2025 so far? and anything new that you've learned, any surprises that we might expect?
Well, we've drilled 50% of our holes to date, and we've drilled over 38,000 meters, so another 165 holes this year. So far, we're going to go to about 42,000. We'll see what the weather goes, and our crew does get tired in our long drill season. And then 40% into power line, and 10% of our drilling is focused on pure blue sky. Where's our exploration upside holes? So I think that'll give us lots of drill results. And of course, when we were doing this financing, we weren't getting drill results. We're now back getting drill results and can start to put some out. In the next few weeks, I'm sure you'll hear lots of news from us on that front.
All right, very good.
And remember, we also have our Highland asset, which we are updating the resource on, which will give us this. It's a secondary project, but in this gold market, it's exciting. And remember back when you were on our property and you were holding that heavy core? You remember what that was?
Yeah, so that was at the Keno Hill mine, and you had some really high-grade silver drill core.
Yeah. So that was back in 2021, and so it's been in our display there for multiple years. And with these silver prices, we've decided to go take a look at some of that again and see if it hangs together. I think it's interesting. Yes, our primary project is AurMac, and if we're successful, this type of silver mineralization does form in discrete veins. So you would be able to differentiate it. We don't want to confuse people with the metallurgy of it, but it's an exciting target, which we've got a little bit of extra drilling funding to be able to maybe go spend a bit of time thinking about, is there also some of this younger mineralization, so it would crosscut Keno style mineralization on our property.
Yeah, so that's the highest grade silver mine basically in the history of Canada, as far as I understand it, and it's not too far away from your property. So that's pretty cool. That silver, I mean, that's super high grade. I think that was like over 10,000 grams per ton, if I recall.
Yep.
And it cuts right through the property.
Yep, that piece you were holding was 11,000 grams per ton over 1.1 meters, so a narrow vein, and then we had another intercept of 14,000 grams per ton, and in a broader intercept of 1,841 grams per ton over like 16 meters. So a broader interval of higher grades. But we didn't really follow up on that in 2021 because it was hard enough through the tough years to get our gold story out there. So that'll be another change for us, and just a little add-on to our targeting. This 5 million ounces of plus 1 gram is still the main thing that people should think about Banyan, that this does have a very significant high grade core. And I think you'll see lots of numbers you're not used to, not the 0.5 numbers, above 1 gram numbers in our drill intercepts this year, which will be a change. And then we'll have our Highland resource news release coming out as well. And then, we're going to talk a little bit about the silver, because I think it's an important part in this gold and silver market, to let people know there's some optionality here as well.
So are you saying that you're going to test some of those silver targets in the coming months, or is that something that you've already put a few holes into?
We've already put a few holes into the area where we targeted. It looks like there's a very distinct trend from looking at our historic results. So yeah, we'll have some of those results through the fall.
So maybe it's going to be Banyan Gold and silver.
Maybe.
All right, Tara, thank you so much for the update, and I'll see you in 12 days in another city in the U.S.
The New Orleans
thank you.
That's going to be
New Orleans.
We have so many shareholders there who've been reaching out to us. So come to our breakfast too. On the Thursday morning, we have our sunrise breakfast, and we expect it'll be standing room only. So hopefully people will get their tickets early. Is
that Thursday the 5th, like the last day of the conference?
I believe so. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. Sold out. Thank you very much, Tara.
Thank you, Robert. Bye for now.